Hello everyone, this is Samriddhi. Now, one thing I want to tell you, which I wanted to tell you from many time. Okay, so what is that thing? The thing is very simple. Okay, it's my view, my personal view I can say here, my personal experience. Students, what happened when I was small? Okay, I was playing with my friends. And one of my friend, she brought a new cycle which was very nice, very attractive. When I saw that bicycle at first, I wanted it. In any manner I wanted it because I liked it too much. And for that, when I went home, I immediately told to my mother and father. Okay. My father was not, means he was out of station at that time. I called him and said, my friend has brought a very good bicycle which is very attractive. I also want it. And I made him to make a promise with me that you'll bring the bicycle. He made a promise. When he made a promise, I was very happy. Okay, very happy that my father will bring the bicycle for me. Okay. 2 days means after 2 days he will be coming. I was knowing that. So 2 days, for 2 days I was so happy and very much means very happy and even waiting for my father when he'll come. But the next day when he came, his hands were empty, nothing in his hand. When he turned in, his hands were empty, nothing in his hand. I felt very sad. Can you all tell what I means how I would have felt at that time? Can you tell? Although my feelings are different than you all like this, we can say, but you can give a common word that how would have felt at the time. Right? So sad, very bad, isn't it? Same thing. Yes, I felt very sad. I said that why you have done the promise that if you haven't brought it. I was thinking in my mind. My all these thoughts were revolving in my mind. But a twist is there. What's that? His hands were empty because bicycle was behind him. When I saw it, I really said that this is too expensive. Also, it is more attractive than the one my friend was having. I was so happy that my father has kept the promise and brought a new cycle which was more attractive than my friend. Now, why I'm saying this? Because the story, the poem which we are going to see is related to it. It's what? Related to it. The listeners, the chapter is. You'll understand why I said at the end, you yourself will think, yes, the story which I told you at first is same related to this. Not same, but it's related to this in any of the manner. So, shall we go for it? Okay, the poem is the prose is the poet, the listeners. Okay. Is there anybody there? Said the traveler, knocking on the moonlight door, and his horse in the silence jammed the grasses of the forest ferny floor, and a bird flew up out of the turret above the traveler's head, and again, and he smoothed upon the door again a second time. Is there anybody there? He said. Now let's see the same thing. Now let's see the meaning of it. A lonely traveler on his horseback reaches a lone house in the forest to keep an appointment. He was greeted by a bird. No one else was there, only a bird, which flew out of the turret above his head. When he knocked on the door, there was a tinge of eeriness. The second time he knocked louder and shouted to find out if there was anybody in. But no one descended to the traveler. No head from the left French Cyril leaned over and looked into his grey eyes, where he stood perplexed and still. But only a host of phantom listeners and dwelt in a lone house then stood listening in the quiet of the moonlight. The meaning of it is no head leans over the leaf-fringed sill and looks into the grey eyes of the traveller. Here the expression the leaf-fringed sill suggests the house has long been uninhabited. Means no one is living there from a long time. So plants have grown on the windows, doors of the house and dusty everything. Okay, traveller becomes confused when his second call also goes unheeded. When he says, "Is there anybody?" No one responded. He grows increasingly more impatient and frightened. He cannot account for the loneliness that prevails in the house. That prevails in the house. Now, so he stand perplexed and still. Only a host of phantom, the ghosts are there who are listening and which are living in this lone house, standing listening to the voice coming from the world of the living. In the other words, those who listen to the voice of traveler are ghosts, correct, or we can say phantom. This point is clear to everyone. Is there anyone having any query in this point? Okay, now we'll go for the next. To that voice from the world, men stood thronging the faint moonbeams on the dark stair that goes down to empty hall, hearkening in an air stirred and shaken by the by lonely traveler's call, and he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry, while his horse moved, cropping the dark turf neath the starred and leafy sky. The house is haunted. One, yes, students. So we'll see the para. What is the meaning of this para? The house is haunted, one, and the ghosts stand crowded on the dark stair in a faint moonlight. The air in the deserted house, inhabited by shadowy ghosts, seems to be stirred and shaken by the sound of traveler's call. The traveler hears no human voice in response to his call. Only the stillness answers his call. There's no response, only the silence is answering his call. It means there's a psychological communication is established between the traveler and the phantoms, that is ghost. The poet's horse moves, cropping the dark turf beneath the starred and leafy sky. For he suddenly smote on the door even louder and lifted his head. "Tell them I came and no one answered, that I kept my word," he said. Nevertheless, Sir made the listeners, though every word he spake fell echoing through the shadowness of the still house. From one man left awake, the traveller again knocks on the door louder than before. He lifts his head and says, "Tell him I came and kept my word." This time also there is no response. The phantom listeners make no movement. They stand perfectly still. The words uttered by the traveller resound in the empty house. The world of phantoms is shadowy and faint, but there is moonlight in the world of men. The one man left awake refers to the traveller because he is only man living in the region of dead. Hey! They heard his foot upon the stirrup and the sound of iron on stone, and how silence surged softly backward when the plunging hoofs were gone. The traveller mounts his horse, placing his feet upon the stirrup. He departs, leaving us alone in the house with the phantoms, who now seem very real, who heard everything, who are listening with us to the noise of the traveller on horseback slowly fade away. The phantom listeners hear the clatter of the horse hoof on the stony path as he rides away. The sound of the horse hoofs fades and dies away in the distance. And then deep silence reigns supreme in the world funeral of the dead. The expression silence surged softly backward means that after departure of travelers, silence rolls back in the place like a waves of sea. I hope this point is clear to everyone and everyone is clear with this. In this way, we are through with our chapter. I will suppose the listeners. Thank you, all of you.